Okay, we'll begin because we've got another amazing session before us, titled Delivering School Meal Programs in Practice, the Pacific Experiences, Challenges and Lessons. This will be delivered as a fishbowl. So I'm going to invite the lead facilitator for this particular session, Mr. Lazarus Ndawa, the PNG country lead for the Pacific School Food Network, to come up and tell us about how he wishes to address the next session. Thank you again.
All right, good morning, everyone. I was given instruction to, as much as possible, be quick on this session because we have gone over time. So for this session 4, we are going to learn from countries who have experience in implementing school meal programs in the Pacific region. So for this session, we will have a presentation from Republic of Marshall Island by Kenseko Amel. If you are here, I will call you after that, so be prepared. And then after the presentation, we will have a short poll to get your views and ideas on the challenges in establishing, delivering and scaling up school meal programs. And then after that, we'll have a fishbowl discussions and a session wrap up. So without further ado, let me call upon Mr. Kamel Kenseko, who is the nutritionist supporting the school meal program in Republic of Marshall Island. Please give a round of applause for him. Welcome.
Hi, everybody. Please turn to the person next to you and slap him. I'm just kidding. I'll be sharing a little bit about our food policy back home and how we integrate it in how our food system, like how do we give out the food. And right now we have 2 meals to every public school. We have about more than 29 public school, 30, I think. And we're serving 2 meals, breakfast and lunch. And for the breakfast, it is very new. We just started this year, this school year. And the government spent about 2 million for these projects. Yeah. But back to the policy, because the policies are like our Bible for the vendors to follow every time. For you to become a vendor, you have to go through a process where you need to submit certain kind of papers like health insurance and health paper from the public health. And then they have to, EPS to come to the house and check the water and check if your surrounding, your kitchen is fit for serving the student. So the thing is, like, from the vendor, they bring it to the school, and then the school will distribute the food for lunch and breakfast. We have 2 boarding schools, and we serve 3 meals for the dormitories students. We also have a portion size that every vendor should follow, and they have given 3 strike. If they don't follow the policy, we'll give them 3 chances. First one, if like the plate doesn't fit what is inside the meal policy, like there is no fruit, then we'll call the vendor, give them the warning. Second time, we send a statement to warn. And the third time, we'll kick them off and bring another vendor. That's how it works. In school, we have prohibited or banned serving of hot dogs, corned beef, ramen noodles, and small meat or the fish that we have one fishing vendor that they sell fish at the street. We have banned that one because it's not really safe for the students. So we have banned that kind of fish. Also, we have banned selling of um, any kinds of junk food in those schools. Previous years, we used to have people selling junk food in our schools, but now we have banned them from coming in to sell their junk food inside the school. Also, every 2 weeks, I go to the schools and spot checks, like go and check if the vendors are following the policy. If they're not following the policy, then we'll give them the warning itself. Every menu and preparation, I take care of that one. All the menus I give out to the school principals and school head teachers in the outer island. And for them to receive the next payment, they have to submit the food consumption for the food in schools. They have to submit food consumption and um, menu, what they want to eat the next 3 months. Every month they have to send them for us to release the funding to the boarding schools and also the other public schools in our. Also, we have school gardens that we also make use of it to the schools menus. We also take the whatever's inside the garden to put it inside the student's plate. I think that's about it. Thank you, Komotara. If there's any question, let me know.
Thank you. Thank you, Kanseko, for sharing the RMI experiences in implementing the school meal. Because of the interest of time, I might take 1 or 2 questions, but then they will be also in the fishbowl. So if any questions, we can ask them during the discussions. So based on this experience sharing, just to recap some of the key points that was presented, the RMI school meal program is backed by good government policies. That is one thing that is key to successful implementation of school meal programs around the world. And the model they are using is they are outsourcing the procurement of school meal. School meal is being outsourced to local vendors. So strict guidelines and monitoring is also essential in terms of keeping in place the quality of the meals, portion sizes, and also for financing of the vendors and sustainability of the school meal as well. So these are important elements which has been highlighted in these presentations, but these are not all the aspects. We have so diverse range of experience that we can learn from. So later on, we will have a fishbowl discussions to learn from other countries who have been implementing the school meal program. But before that, I have a short poll that I want you to participate. It's similar to what Debbie has presented. So you'll have to get your phone and scan the code for the Mentimeter. Okay. Let me know if you can scan it and access the quiz. So there are only two questions. One is the poll, the other one is the word count. So the question one is, what are the common challenges with establishing or implementing school meal programs in your country? So you can choose up to 3 options. 3 most common prioritized of challenges. Okay, so we have finance being the most selected options. Second to that, we have policy and standards, governance mechanisms, infrastructure, challenges, human resource capacity, and community participation. Many seems to be the least. Could be because most of us are still at the inception phase, thinking about it, planning about it. So many, at some point in time, might come up as one of the challenges. But for now, I think the largest challenges in all the Pacific Island countries is the startup. Where do we get the support from? How do we frame it? What sort of policies do we need to have in place? Who finances it? How do we get government support? How do we advocate at different levels? These are all challenges that we are facing. So, and then the governance who's going to implement it. Do we need a multi-sectoral? Do we need a one sector to lead, or do we need different sectors? So these are some of the questions that can be discussed as well in the next activity after this. We go to the next questions. Question 2, in one word, what can make a school meal program successful from your perspective? Keep them coming. Okay, so we have collaborations leading there. Money and finance, same thing. Ownership, of course, ownership. A lot of countries in the Pacific Island countries, we have piloted school meal, but there is no sustainability. Most of it is driven by partners and bilateral support, but current ownership has been lacking in terms of sustaining it. So that is something that we will also learn. How do we maneuver along these different threads and our landscapes in the Pacific in terms of ownership and support. And then community is one of the biggest partners in terms of supporting school meal programs, where the communities live and where the schools are. Okay, I think we have a good number of responses so far. I will end the poll right now, and then we can go into the next session on the feasible discussion. Okay, for the fish bowl, I need to say. So for the fish bowl, I'd like to invite key speakers who will occupy the middle table. If I might excuse you to at least move to the other tables, maybe it's a good time to interact with others as well. And then we can free up the middle table with 7 chairs, 8 chairs. So the fishbowl participants can sit there. So I have a number of questions that I will ask them to lead the discussions. Yeah. Okay. For the fishbowl, we have Tematang from the Kiribati to join the table there. Take a chair. Denny Lehe from Solomon Islands. Amos Kalo from Vanuatu. Nope. Desfritom from FSM. Chanika from Nauru. And Kenseko, you can join our fishbowl discussion as well. So the fishbowl is a type of discussions where we generate insights from the different diversity of participants that we have here. So these are called the inner circles, and you guys are the outer circles. So I have sets of questions that I will ask the panel here, and then there is always one empty seat here. So when I ask a question to our panel, they will respond, and if someone from the outer circle, like from the audience, if you have an interesting contribution to make, raise your hand up and then walk here and take a seat. And then you can do your contribution, express yourself, say your challenges and whatever. And then after you finish, free up the sheet and move back. So if there's a next question that I ask and someone want to contribute, they will come and take the seat. So don't sit here forever, because you might have some very important, like maybe perspective that they want to share that, yeah, but just it's a more of a discussion that I will go on with the panel. So that's clear? Okay, let me take my seat if in case, before anyone else take here, and I want to have a seat. That's the mic. My first question will be on policy enablers for school meals. The New Zealand, my question here goes to Kenseko, Kamal from RMI, and Claudia Maka from New Zealand. So the question is, the New Zealand School Lunch Program and the Republic of Marshall Islands School Lunch Programs can provide valuable lessons for the other Pacific Island countries to strengthen or motivate them into implementing SMPs. Based on your experience, what key policy elements, governance, and institutional mechanisms are needed to secure strong and sustained government commitment to school meal programs? So policy, what type of policy do Pacific Island countries need? Or what type of policy does New Zealand and Marshall Island already have that is supporting the government to implement this school meal program? In terms of governance, it mainly looks at who is responsible for delivering the school meal, the ministries. Is it multi-sector, like the education, health, agriculture involved, or is it only one ministry driving the initiatives? Instead of institutional mechanisms, what are the coordinations mechanisms in place where school meal program rides on. So just your experience on at the policy, because any program to start at country level, there's to be enabling environment in terms of policy. So that countries who are interested have ambitions to start school meal they can implement. So I just leave to two of you, and then after that, if any members here want to join, you can one or two addition on that, and then if there's anyone that they can.
Kia ora. Kia ora tātou, ngā mihi nui ki a koutou kia koe tō kōrero. My name is Claudia Marker from New Zealand, Aotearoa, and I'm the Service Delivery Manager for the Iwi Hapu Partnership School Lunches Model, a part of Ka Ora Ka Ako. To answer that question, there was about 10 questions in that one question. So I hope I've listened to something. But in terms of policy, so if I focus on the iwi hapu space that I manage for the entire country, a policy, the Ministry of Education is the only policy maker in regards to the school lunches program. However, with the iwi hapu model, which is a partnership model that is the government working with the local tribe and landholders, Indigenous people of the country, which we call tangata whenua. So that's the partnership model. And in terms of policy, what that looks like is we do policy in partnership with the iwi and the tribe. So example, waste, food waste from lunches. We have a policy, well, a unwritten, I guess, cultural policy within iwi is that kore momo kai, which means we don't waste food. And so that's a policy that sits within schools under this specific iwi hapu model in school lunches. Where does government fit in with that? As we work in partnership to help develop and implement and make sure that we're adhering to what the treaty has been put in place for between the Crown and the iwi. So policy is something that's written in collaboration. It's something that's written not one-sided. And it's something that we take seriously from a cultural perspective as well. Policy for us is tikanga, which means our values and our traditions that have been passed down by our ancestors, and that to be implemented into policy, rather than be the other way around and government implement policy to the people. So I hope I answered your question around policy and what that looks like. I know I'm trying to keep it short as I can, so that's
Hi everybody, Genju. For us in back home, the Ministry of Education, we're the ones who make because we're under Ministry of Education. The ministry is inside our headquarter building. So we're the one making the policy in terms of the policy. In terms of governance, everybody's taking part in this one. The parents, even the students are taking part in the looking after the food and stuff. Meaning, if there's a complaint, like a parent can make a complaint to our office saying, oh, this vendor, he didn't put like the fruit in the plate, or this vendor has little bit, it doesn't follow the portion size of the rice or protein. So we have to go there and talk to the vendor. Even so, we can also give them warning, 1, 2, 3 warning, they're fired. That's it.
Thank you.
Come on.
Any contribution from the panel here? Would you like to contribute?
Thank you. Hello, Kata. My name is Jill, working with the Ministry of Health as a nutrition officer. So in Solomon Islands, in terms of policy development for schools, it has to come from education. But then in terms of implementing, like in governance side, it has to be a multi-sectoral as well. From experience, we currently have a school nutrition policy that was on draft. However, it was developed from health side because we are thinking that health is looking after the health outcomes in schools. But then it was on draft until now because of education supposed to be the leading ministry for the policy. So we are working on now to change that approach and give it back to education to take the lead for school policies. Thank you.
Thank you, Solomon Islands. Any contributions from the audience? Different perspective on how policy and governance sustain school meals? Any experience from the Pacific regions? No? Okay, then we move to the second questions. Please come. There's an empty seat. We welcome you to our circle.
Thank you. Kia ora, namaste. I'm Meenal Rai from Auckland University of Technology, New Zealand as well. So it's fairly obvious, the conversation that has just happened here and the last session where the Hawaii colleagues here told us how health and meal were being part of a curriculum. Now, what I'm failing to see here is while Ministry of Education in all the islands are responsible for the program, within the Ministry of Education, school meal program, providing meal versus making meal part of the education curriculum is two different things. And that is something that we're seeing missing in New Zealand specifically. I could speak about that country, is that while the Ministry of Education will make policies around provision, design, and implementation of the school meal program, the meal is not yet part of the curriculum, which means we are not really teaching our children that ulu flour, what is the health benefit of it, why should we eat it, and how is it becoming part of the enjoyment of eating it. So joining the healthy and yet tasty, Jess, you mentioned it, there is a very strong health behavior perception. Whatever is healthy will not be tasty. And that's exactly what we want to reverse, right? We want to say healthy and tasty, but this will only come when Ministry of Education broadens its perspective from not only lunch, but lunch curriculum as an extension. So I want this group to maybe talk about this a little more. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing the concerns from New Zealand. Is there something that is, my question will go back to Solomon Islands and RMI. From your perspective in the current program that is going on, is there an opportunity or is this what you are actually doing to enforce implementation of the school meal, but then knowledge and behavior on the other side of it to complement some of those initiatives to make not just providing meals, but they should understand why they're having these meals and what should be in the plate of food. And that should be something that goes beyond the scope of providing meals, but then build a stronger healthy eating habits into the future. That is the concern here. So I'll just leave it here. So any of you feel you want to come in to interject, then have that opportunity.
Test. Kasirelia. Hello, everyone. My respect. I'm from Pohnpei in the Federal State of Micronesia. The school meal program in Pohnpei is mainly to the secondary education and EC. Primary is not in the school meal program. Why? Because of limited funding and everything. So the main for the secondary high schools where the students come in together into three main high schools and the ECE, because it's part of the curriculum to teach the students how to heat and what to eat, what the importance of the practices they're learning. So going back to that, in the EC level, it's within the curriculum for the cooks and the teachers to heat and educate them on those things. And for the EC, there are programs for the parents to, we partner with agriculture and people to go to the centers and teach the parents how to do their small gardens and use the herbs and vegetables for their meals. For the secondary schools, we have agriculture field majors, and they do farming and agriculture, and their crops go into their kitchens and cafeterias to be part of their meal. So these are programs that are happening in Pohnpei State. Thank you.
I just wanted to respond to your question, great question. In the New Zealand lunches model, we have programs, so we have three models. Internal, schools make their own lunches. External, contractors are brought in to drop off their lunches. Iwi Hapu is the partnership model. That's the one I want to reply to your comment. In terms of a part of the curriculum, the Iwi Hapu model school lunches, if I can explain it this way, it's all the kura kaupapa, which we call kura kaupapa, which is all the reo Māori speaking schools in the country. So they implement school lunches as a part of their curriculum. And what I mean by that is they follow the maramataka, so the moon. That's a huge part of how food is prepared, gardening, which we call marakai. Also hunting is a local practice that we use as a part of curriculum. But that is the only probably area at the moment where we have incorporated, not so much us, our iwi partners have incorporated school lunches as part of the curriculum from the time they get to school to the time they go home. But yeah, I just wanted to reply to your comment.
No. Thank you. And that is something that we should also point out, that while the Iwi Hapu model is based on the Wharetapawa framework, so today we saw the Whanofale framework and the other frameworks from other countries. In New Zealand, the Iwi Hapu model is based on the Wharetapawa framework, which is a very inclusive, holistic framework. The problem is within the same country, we have school meal programs being implemented and designed over two different frameworks. And maybe that is where an approach lies in optimizing all of the frameworks within the country to fall within a holistic sphere of knowing and learning and environment and spirituality and culture and tradition included within the meal programs. Thank you.
I'll just share a little bit about one thing happened back home. When we first started the breakfast program, man, the first week, raise of hand, how many of you guys eat oatmeal? See, not everybody. Well, the first week, because I put the oatmeal in the first month. On the first week, there was 2-3 days from then, there was a huge line at the back of my office. Parents were coming to complain because there's 2 kids weren't eating the breakfast. But given 2-3 days, I mean, the first day when we served the oatmeal, there was a lot of plate coming back to the office. Second day, there's like less coming back. On the third week, everybody was eating oatmeal. So that's what I want to say. Thank you. It's mean like little by little, they can. Or if you want them to eat it, put it inside the rice so that they don't see it.
Yeah. If I could ask the Solomon Island to give your feedback, but because of time, but there'll be questions I'll be asked directly to you that you can also contribute. The second question is going to curious, but you have shared quite a lot already. So I would like to give opportunity to others. So I'll go straight to question 3 on the food system and agriculture. If there is anything that you want to contribute, if you have time, we can come back to your question. So this question is directed to Denis from Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock in Solomon Islands, and Amos from Vanuatu. Given increased reliance on imported and processed foods and the impact of climate change, how can the agriculture sector be sustainable and planet-friendly to better support school meal program, and what needs to change to ensure reliable supply of healthy local foods? So it's talking about the potential of agriculture. At some point in time, there'll be countries who are going into homegrown school feeding, but that's so diverse. The different environmental conditions that we have in Pacific countries. Some countries will have the potential for that. The others will be limited to it due to smaller land availability. So what is the potential of agriculture in supporting school meal, also to balance the impact of the food production at that volume to avoid environmental degradation and contribution to greenhouse gas and climate change?
Thank you. Yes, my name is Dani Lehe. I'm from the Solomon Islands. Thank you. Okay. Yes. So currently, I will just go back to the project that we have currently back with the school meal program. The program was funded by the government of Japan through UNICEF and implemented with Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Health, and also Education. So what we are currently doing is to implement a school garden within the schools. So yes, currently yes, we have the opportunity, but we have to go back into practicing the traditional knowledge, in terms of setting up of school farms. So yes, with the climate change impact, I think what the ministry wants to do is to ensure that the crops that will be implemented in the schools have to be resilience, climate resilience, to ensure that they meet the standard and also deliver what the school meal is expected. I think that's what I can say. Thank you.
Vanuatu? Any contribution from the audience?
Jessica here. I have a quick question about the school gardens within a school meal program context. I worked on a school gardens program in Morobe in PNG, where we were setting up school gardens as a curriculum, agriculture education tool, as well as for nutrition education, but with the hope that would also produce sufficient food to feed into the boarding school mess. It was a pilot program. We set it up as a commercial type of farm because of the scale. We also didn't want children to be working on the farms outside of the scope of their lesson time from an agriculture perspective. So we had a farm manager. We had commercial broiler chickens plus horticulture crops. And essentially what we found was that it was productive enough to kind of keep itself running. We had it in, I think, 12 different schools in the Morobe region. And there wasn't much left over to go into the meals in order to make a nutritional contribution. So I think it's interesting to think about school gardens as an educational tool, but I am curious about have people had any effects, I guess, in terms of utilizing school gardens to make meaningful contributions to national school meal programs? Thank you.
I'll just share something about the school garden. For our boarding schools, we have 2 boarding schools, and they have a school garden each. And then all the stuff from the garden, they're using it in their kitchen. So that's how they get their um vegetables. Because these boarding school, they're not on the capital. They're at our outer islands. So that's how they get their vegetable from the school gardens.
Maybe I'll ask Claudia to contribute. In New Zealand, how do the farming households and even the procurement of food, fresh produce for the school meal, how do they have that arrangement with the schools to supply? And maybe you can just give a explanation on that, and what are the challenges that you have experienced with the type of arrangements?
I'll use one of our schools as an example to try and answer that. One of our schools in a place called Gisborne, which is the first place to see the sun by 9 seconds across from the rest of the world. But we've got a beautiful little school there, and they have been certified to kill and hunt their own meat, and they also process it, and alongside that is their own garden. So the garden is specifically, it has vegetables specifically grown to match the seasons, to match the meals. For example, winter is all of our hot stews, our curries type of meals coming through. So they have a lot of carrots and potatoes, kumara, which is sweet potato. That's all grown in alignment with the menu. So the gardens are purposeful. They're not just veggie gardens with random veggies. They're actually purposely designed to fit the school lunches program. Not just that, they are also what we call community gardens. So family whānau can come and help themselves as well. And they also give out free meat to parents who come and help process the meat for the school lunches. But basically it's a big process, and there is some challenges, absolutely. But because the school has gone through the process of being certified from the time that the hunters go into the bush and find the venison, the wild pork, right through to having gun licenses, it's quite a big process, gun licenses, having safety training, then because they take the children out with them as well. Not all of them, just ones that have been given permission to go out, and this is the part of their curriculum. And then that's all pulled together under a safety plan, under a policy that the school has, not the Ministry of Education. And it's all part of it from the time it leaves the bush to the time it gets to the school. It's processed at the school. The children process the meat themselves alongside either their fathers or uncles, grandfathers, mums as well. We've got a lot of hunting mothers in our communities. Then they process the meat alongside the vegetables, so it's all under kind of one license, if that's the easiest way to put it. And there are some issues like compliance, funding, making sure that they've got safety mechanisms in place, but they are a really good example of looking at Marakai vegetable gardens from, I guess, garden to table. But yeah, that's quite a common practice where I live. Everyone lives off the land, so it's very common, but yeah.
All right. Thank you. This one more. Okay.
Thank you, moderator. It's me, Tema, speaking the fish from Kiribati. And I'd like to contribute to the discussion around the school gardening. We had before the initiative called From Garden to Table in one of our senior secondary schools. And this program was supported by one of our development partners. And the program was going really well with the support of our development partner. And it was a really good initiative because Kiribati is heavily depends on imported food, and our soil is not fertile. But we have experts coming over to teach our students how to grow food, and another challenge for us is the space to grow food. So we're trying to utilize the space that is not really big, but at least enough for us to grow food. And through this initiative, it really helps the school to get the vegetables and the fruits from the garden to table. And it's really helped us with also the budget, because the cost of living is really high, especially to procure food that are imported from overseas. But yet this is what I want to share, because I know that it was a really good one, but the bigger question behind this is the sustainability. Like, if we cannot sustain such good initiatives, then they will be gone, and we know the value that they have brought to our students in our school. Thank you, moderator.
Thank you. So we have so many burning questions for agriculture. I know with the challenges that we have, how do we smaller Pacific Island countries maneuver around if we are going into school meal, then where do we get our food from? How do we promote regional trades? How do we tap into climate resilience? And then the P4 experience on the going back to indigenous food, which are climate resilient, like breadfruit, makes some positive opportunities for us going into the future. But then I will leave it as that. We go to the next questions on infrastructure and supply chain, which are one of the challenges according to the Global Child Nutrition Report on School Meal. The infrastructure and supply chain is indicated as one of the challenges. I'd like to ask Destry and Elena from the FSM to explain the challenges with infrastructure, especially in setting up the school meal program in terms of, the kitchen, what facilities need to be in schools for the schools to be ready for the implementation. Because that's one of the problem when I was leading supposed to be an implementation of school meal program pilot in Papua New Guinea. We supposed to, under the FAO program, we're supposed to pilot the school meal program. But when we go to the schools, we find that the facilities are not there at the primary school, especially at the day schools, like basics like the kitchen and a dining hall are not there. So then that's something that is struggling. So with that, how do you go about it in FSM?
Okay, good morning, everyone. I'm Eleanor. I'm from the FSM, Chuk State. We have 4 states in the FSM. So I'm from Chuk and it's from Ponte. So I am the ECE specialist for the Department of Education there. So I take charge of the ECE program. In our ECE program, we are also implementing the school feeding program, where we experience challenges and strengths. So I will be talking about the challenges that we experience during when we implement the feeding program. So the modality, we have 2 modalities of implementing the program through catering services, that's on the main island, and hiring of cooks and building of kitchens to cook, prepare, and serve the. So in our state, we have many scattered islands from the main island to the outer islands. So that's one of the challenges when we deliver, when it comes to delivery of food to the outer islands and the main island. So we have to wait for availability of boats, and with the weather, that's the challenges we experience. And some also some challenges that we experience are workforce. I'm the only EC personnel at the Chuk Department of Education. So we don't have enough staff. We collaborate with other agencies or departments like the health services, agriculture or the CRE, Cooperative Research Extension from one of the colleges in our state. Another challenge is we're talking about school gardening because of, I think we have the similar case with her, limited space and the soil is not fertile. So our islands depends on imported goods. And because of climate change, sea level rising comes and go every often. So our crops are not really, they're damaged. So we depend mostly on the imported foods. And if we gonna contribute local produce to the schools, we don't pay. Parents contribute. It's part of their in-kind contribution to the schools. So those are the challenges that I want to share with for our feeding program. Thank you.
Any addition?
Thank you. For Solomon Islands, currently just on some of the challenges for infrastructure, most of the school kitchens or wash facilities there on some schools do not have those utilities, so it challenges with the food production for mostly the boarding schools. Even for day schools, they depend more on those mothers that selling foods. So they prepare the foods at home, but for the schools, that is one of our challenges, infrastructure. So in the project funding support that government of Japan is supporting Solomon Island, we are working on the infrastructure side on selected provinces only. We have islands as well, so that's one of the challenges for us. Also for us in Solomon Islands, there are no guidelines for vendors due to school feeding programs under education. They depend entirely on the school grant that the government give to the schools. So it's very limited. So whatever food they can buy from that money is what they given to the students in school. So mostly they rely on processed foods such as rice, noodle, and tuna. And if schools that has farms, they produce their own food or cassava or potato, and they can have fish on special weekends or something like that. Currently for the school meal, improving school meals project initiative that we have, due to schools, they do not have a standard menu as well. Whether that menu meets nutritional standards, there is none in Solomon Islands. So there's a dietary assessment that will take place for us to contextualize what foods are supposed to be in the menu for the schools. Again, there is no policy as well for schools. We have policies such as National Food Security, Food Safety and Nutrition Policy that actually states that school needs a school food policy, but it states in there, but it hasn't been implemented. So we have plans to do all this. And also in terms of the curriculum, we have the National University in Solomon Islands, and the Ministry of Education develop the curriculum, but then when the teachers go out to implement that subject, because we have it in our curriculum as well, nutrition and health, but they are mismatched with what they learn at the university and what the Ministry of Education has in terms of the curriculum. So we also having support with donor partners to look around how to inline what has been taught at the National University with what has been developed by the Ministry of Education curriculum. Thank you.
All right, thank you. We'll move on to the next questions on, I think some of these part from this question has been answered by Claudia and others regarding the community participation and support in terms of school meal. But I'll ask Kiribati RMI regarding what is the role of the community in terms of supporting the school meals program. What role do they play? Do they support in food production? Do they support in preparation, or how do they support the school meal program? The roles of the communities around the schools. The role of the communities. What role do they play in supporting school meal program in your country?
For the community, I think they are the vendors for our school programs. So they're the one applying to be a vendor for the schools in our school system. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So basically, they're outsourcing the procurement of the food to the vendors, and then they prepare the meals for the students.
Usually, the vendor is responsible for his own all of the food that he's gonna cook. If I were the vendor, I will purchase the food, and the way it is that the vendor take care of the food, like the cooking and ingredients, everything. They take care of it and then bring the bill to us, and then we'll reimburse it for them. But right now we're selling those per plate is $3. So they're working inside that amount of money, $3. But they have to follow the policy, the food portion policy. Yeah.
Okay, let's go to, this is a general question to all the participants for this fishbowl. What are the challenges you faced or experienced in setting up the school meal program? From the design, and you were looking at implementation, what are the challenges at different levels, whether it be at policy, at the implementation, coordination level, or even from parent support and ownership as well at the implementation level? What are the different challenges? Maybe we can at least have 3 diverse responses, then we can move on. Just a reminder to be short so that we can move on quickly.
I'll just speak about the iwi hapu model in terms of setting up and some of the challenges. So this model was purely developed because we had our small rural communities that we didn't have any contractors, any vendors, and we couldn't work out why. Why aren't people wanting to contract for school lunches? And then once we did some collaborating with the iwi, we realised that a lot of our locals didn't know how to work the government tendering contract, I guess, language. So we then developed the partnership model, which is the partnership procurement, and the schools pick their vendor. The ministry doesn't. For the iwi hapu model only, the school are in charge of who they would like to make their school lunches, and they work in partnership with that person or that group and the Ministry of Education. So that was one of the biggest challenges we had to change our procurement language, because we're working with people who their first language is not English. So we were very specific about that. We got translation into te reo Māori, so those who are only reo Māori speaking people could understand what they were signing when they're signing up to become contractors for the iwi hapu school lunch model. But that's one of the challenges we had.
I acknowledge that we have our own unique challenges at our own countries. But one of the things that I want to add to the previous discussion from my sister there is the sustainability, because for us, we have developed the school meal program policy. And in the development of this policy, we call together all our key stakeholders from the government ministries and the NGOs. So they all come together and help us design the policy. And we know that the policy, we should also have the implementation plan and the risk management plan. So we're having the documents with us, but we also know that when it comes to the implementation, it is a different story, because we're having a lot of students to feed, and given the limited resources that we have, and our geographical isolation for the islands, so we'll be having a lot of cost in terms of the transportation of the food, the logistics, and other things. So while Kiribati is having key documents in place in draft form, we're trying to look into the future and be able to know whether the concept or the design that we're having is sustainable or not. So we have engaged the World Food Program. They've been helping us with the mapping study, and we have to relook into the key documents again to incorporate the recommendations made from the World Food Program. And there's a lot to do around the school meal program, particularly the implementation part, because at the end of the time, the real question is, are we having a sustainable model in place, or just something that we can start off and then it can end very soon? And yeah, that's pretty much what I want to share.
Thank you. We'll just have one opportunity from the audience who want to take up a check. Can one of us free a chair for an outside participant to join us? Any? Okay, Ellen from PNG.
Okay, thank you. I'm Helen from PNG. I work for the Ministry of Health or Department of Health as a Senior Technical Officer for Nutrition and Dietetic Program. From these group discussions, I just want to head on to the challenges that is faced in my country when working in the space of nutrition. We have issues with leadership at the highest level. When there is a change in the government, where there is political change, there is some shift with leadership. So we had faced this problem because what we had developed multi-sectoral nutrition policy for PNG, and that policy was to be coordinated at national planning level, but the PMU setup was shifted due to the political change that took place in the last election. So I think that was the challenge we experienced. Thank you.
Thank you, Ellen. Debbie, good one.
Kia ora, just one question about sustainability, because I think it's on everyone's agenda and everyone's mind, is that the only way I can see us possibly considering sustainability in a truly manageable way is to work with our local farmers. And so the more support we can get for our local farmers, and then our children benefit from local food. So I really hope that your plan has got local farmers incorporated into it, because I think we so often work in silos in our countries. Our Ministry of Agriculture doesn't work with our Ministry of Education very well. It's my experience. There's sort of a little bit of patch protection rather than really thinking about we're all invested in that child. On that diagram that we did this morning, we all contribute in some way to making children healthy, but we don't always see the connect day. All right, that was my kind of comment really, just about making sure that the farmers are connected to these interventions with Ministry of Education and Ministry of Health.
Thank you, Debbie, for bringing that up. And of course, we have the Triple GI project. We also have the Live and Learn working alongside the Ministry of Education. But I think it's more of the context of our individual countries and islands, because when we talk about farming in Fiji is a really good soil. But when we talk about farming in Kiribati, it's really a different story. But you're right about that. Like it's more of working together with the other, like the Ministry of Environment and other projects that could support our farmers. But the reality out there is really, really different. But that's something that we can work on with our colleagues from the Ministry of Environment, including the non-government organizations that are supporting our farmers back home.
Yeah, it's just that huge range of the transport, It's the biggest issue across, huge millions of kilometers of ocean to get to the outer islands, and whether we can think differently about how we get food there or grow food. I don't know what the answer is, but yeah.
All right, thank you. Let's move on to we will skip question 6, because I know that we have touched on some part of it. Now we are going to straight to question 7, looking forward. What would be one recommendation you would suggest to PSFN to consider in supporting countries in establishing and strengthening their school meal programs? What would be your suggestion? How can PSFN better support countries in what aspects, in what areas, to establish and also to scale up their school meal program based on the current challenges that you have shared? So like this one, maybe 3 responses, and we can round up the session.
I think if wants to start a feeding program, I think one thing is, I think it might be best to go with cafeteria than to with contractors or vendors, because it costs more to spend to the vendors than if you were to have cafeteria in your schools, because that way you can make 2 things. 1, lessen the cost. 2, you can monitor it properly, and it will be easy for you to monitor the balance of the food and also finance. Thank you.
I know I talk a lot, bear with me. One of the things that I could suggest is having some sort of resource sharing, and this could be the sharing of policies from the different countries, and also if we could look at the possibility of sharing the vegetables and the crops from our Pacific Island countries with fertile soils too, because we know that if we import the food from overseas, and the longer the distance they traveled from, the higher the cost. But if we could do business within the region, we get the crops, the vegetables, get the money, more of resource sharing, and if there are follow-up activities after this Talanoa, it will be really good to have country-led school meal program, because we know that we have our own uniqueness, and what works in other countries might not work in my country. So if you really want to have this program effective for all the Pacific Island countries, it will be really good to have the Pacific, the country-led school meal program, where the support is most of the support is put on the ground level. So because I know the countries, they know their issues, they know their context really well. So that could be really helpful if we want to move forward with this important initiative. Thank you.
So we have just 2 more minutes before they fire us from here. But just to summarize the discussion so far, thank you so much, all the fishbowl participants, and for sharing your valuable insights. So from the discussion so far, I've gathered here is for inception and initiation of the school meal program, we need a stronger government policies. And as learned from other countries, policies is one thing, but in terms of commitment to get a government actually put the dollars there is another thing. So stronger school meal programs around the world are based on policies, but they are backed by stronger regulation and act. So when policy is there, but that act is a commitment from the government that governs, like, should they invest on where the food needs to go to the children. And also monitoring and enforcement, which have been critical in terms of ensuring that policy is implemented. Having a policy is one thing, but in terms of the enforcing it is through monitoring and regulation of those policies, so that whatever models of school food we are using, either through outsourcing or in school catering, should conform to those standards. Multi-sector engagement is very crucial because school meal cuts across different sectors: agriculture, food, education, water, sanitation, and hygiene. And so, but at the higher level, there has to be one ministry that needs to take charge of it, and we need ownership. So that ownership, from the experience said, the Department of Education lead the implementation of the school meal program, so a lot of success in that, because it is back under the Ministry of Education, but then collaboration and multi-sector engagement needs to come from different sectors in terms of food provision and all those. And curriculum has been mentioned, which we can be incorporated into the legislation, the declaration as we go through. And then we looked at the importance of agriculture, which is very critical in terms of implementing a healthy school food program in the Pacific. And there are various challenges in the Pacific Island countries. We have some island states which have potential for agricultural production. The others, there is none, like Kiribati, they have experience, and small island states. And then the idea of regional trades and having, if sometimes I question myself, why do Papua New Guineans want to export broccoli and fresh produce to Australia while they already have it? Australia need coffee, so why don't we export and send the broccoli and tomato to Kiribati and one or two? That's something that should, promote regional trades, so we support each other in bad times and good times. And the other thing, limited opportunity for garden farming. Jessica has mentioned that, school gardening may seem to us that it can sustain and meet the volume required for school meal program, but it may have its limitation. So the way school program think about in larger countries like Papua New Guinea and Solomon Island, we have potential for agriculture, then how do we involve smallholder farmer? How do we involve cooperatives? What are the challenges they have in terms of, existing finance, capital, inputs for agricultural production? How do we do that? So there are lots of questions around agriculture, but time is limited. We cannot dwell into it, but we can discuss during the Talanoa. The other thing, infrastructure is, of course, is challenging, and we have we have experienced it in terms of, setting up feeding facilities, kitchen. But then there are different modalities, like in Kiribati, they are outsourcing it. So there is no need for setting kitchen in schools. But if you outsource it to vendors, but then they can easily overcome this for now. But in countries where they want to institutionalize feeding in terms of having in-school catering and then capacity in terms of infrastructure is something that they need to address. But there may be a short-term goal in terms for now we can outsource, but then when government takes full ownership commitment, we can look at what infrastructure needs to be in place. And that, something that is like a demand for agriculture and also for education system in terms of limiting our classrooms and then building new facilities for infrastructure. Then there's a trade-off for that we need to balance out. And then finally, I think to the looking forward, there's consensus from this is that how can the school food network better support the Pacific Island countries with plans of going into school meal program, like they have said that we need to share resources. So if countries have better policies on school meal, how do we use it as an example or sharing to other countries who might want to engage in that, and sharing of expertise as well within the Pacific Island countries, and the regional trade that we can look at into supporting the school meal program. Of course, feeding children, the food needs to come somewhere, and it has to be true within the Pacific Island countries. So with that rounds up our discussion. I want to take this opportunity to thank you everyone in the fishbowl discussion, the participants from different countries. You have so many diverse experience, but time doesn't allow us to pick that out all from you, but we have the 2 days to go. So there'll be engagement with the audience for discussion and for countries who are interested into learning from you and to move forward in that direction. So with that, thank you so much, and I'll pass it on to the chair.
Thank you very much to Lazarus and the respective government representatives from across the Pacific. That was a very enriching session, hearing from all of you. We're about to head into lunch, but we do have a few reminders, please, as well as some information, because following lunch, we will not all be returning to this room. So if I can just start with some reminders first. We mentioned the coconut tree. It's now planted on the wall right by the doors where you exit and enter. So if you have a thought, an idea, suggestion, whatever it may be, and you haven't had the opportunity to share, that's your opportunity to do so, please. We want everyone's inputs. Thank you. The second reminder, you need your name tag for lunch, so please don't lose your name tags. During lunch, we encourage you, and the third reminder, to the note takers, we need your summaries, please, from the last few sessions to be uploaded to the relevant drive. During lunch, we encourage you to sit next to someone that you haven't met as yet. I know there's a few more days to go, but it'd be really good for you to be able to sit next to someone you have yet to meet. We ask that you return from lunch at 1:25 so we can kick off. We are asking you for a few minutes of your lunchtime so that we can get back in line with our timing. I haven't used the bell. It's been a really rich discussion right throughout each of the sessions. So when we return from lunch, those who are going into session 5, which is sourcing local foods, you will be with Eileen Carr and Mingwei Ko of the Hawaiian Farm to School Network. That is in Baravia 2, which is right by the bar in the lobby. There will be someone there to help direct you after lunch, but we will be splitting. For those of you who are interested in attending session 6, you will return to this room, Baravia 1. And that session will be led by Pragya Singh and Ritnesh Vishal Prasad, focusing on emerging evidence in student nutrition status and diet quality. So there's actually a split. Now, if you go to one of the rooms and it's full, we encourage you to go to the other room. All the information from both sessions will be shared. So you will have the opportunity to read up on that information. So, yep. So, enjoy your lunch. Thank you again. If I can invite Sala. Is Sala still with us or she left? She left? Okay. If I can invite Mohinesh Reddy, please, to say prayer for our lunch. Thank you.
Pray, Father God in heaven, we come to your wonderful presence, Lord God, in the name of Jesus. We thank you for this time. We thank you for this day, Father God. We thank you for the rich deliberations and discussions we've had. We thank you, Father God, for the companionship and the sharing that we have today. Father God, we thank you for the food that we're about to eat. We pray that as we consume the food, that will reach us nicely. All this in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.